Hi, I'm Ronnie, I'm 24 years old, and I often sob openly while playing video games. Nice to meet you. As I've gotten older, I've had less and less time to spend on entertainment, and I've come to really understand what I value about video games. Many say gameplay is king, and I would have to agree. Without good gameplay, without fun, what's really the point of a game? You're going to move on to something else quickly. However, for me personally, I've found that what I've come to value is story. When analyzing a movie, story is usually something that's easy to describe. You have something like an intro, a rising action, a climax, and then a falling action. It's an outro or something like that, epilogue at the end of the movie. Also, movies, you can only really interact with them by watching them. There are, of course, some exceptions, but I'm speaking generally of the movie industry. So in a way, I guess you could say that movies can only really tell stories. That's not to say that movies are any lesser for it. Far from it. I love movies. I was a media production major. Some of my best friends are movies. But games are a different animal for the very fact that they're interactive. And in my opinion, the best video game stories aren't told to you like movies are. They're shown to you. And I believe no modern game better shows you a story than Bloodborne. From Software's journey through Yharnam is a very special game for many reasons. Its balanced combat, its very earned sense of accomplishment, its stunning, disgusting, horrifying, beautiful world. But what I believe is so special about Bloodborne is its cohesiveness. Now, when I say cohesiveness, I don't just mean how the blood makes everything stick together in really gross ways, because it certainly does. The game is gross. What I mean is that Bloodborne's pieces, its world, its narrative, its gameplay, all fit together to create something that's much, much more than the sum of its parts. And I believe those puzzle pieces come together to form the image of fallen ideals. I know that sounds pretentious, but let me show you how I think these pieces fit. The first piece is the world. Bloodborne's world is both beautiful and grotesque. Its pre-industrial European architecture, I looked it up, still creates a beautiful skyline, while the street-level humans have been corrupted and transformed into horrifying creatures. This gulf between beauty and despair serves to emphasize both the top and the bottom, and creates a gigantic gap in the middle that's filled with the player's sense of loss because something beautiful has been corrupted and ruined. Next up is the gameplay, mainly the combat. Now, I've played a lot of third-person action games. I've been a huge Devil May Cry fan for many years. I've rarely played anything as fluid and as substantive, as weighty as Bloodborne. The game often requires absolute perfection to succeed, but it gives you the tools to attain that perfection. So again, there's a gulf between what you can do, what you're expected to do, and what you actually do. And this gap in the middle is where you die 1,000 times and want to break your TV. Lastly, the third piece is the narrative. Now, Bloodborne, again, is pretty peculiar in that it pretty much leaves a lot of the story up to interpretation. I think there's a story there, and I think there's a very deep and understood story by the creators there, but they rely on you to find it through item descriptions, enemy names, and maybe 2 or 3 cinematics over the course of the game. Most modern games that want to tell you a story, something like Uncharted, a series I love, by the way, is, like I said, mimicking movies. You get a giant cinematic cutscene that looks like a movie, or a giant wall of text if you want to go way back to something like Final Fantasy IV, also one of my favorite games. But Bloodborne, as I said at the beginning, doesn't tell you a story through cutscenes or text. It shows you a story. And you're pretty much on your own to figure out what the heck is going on. Best I can piece together, the citizens of Yharnam started worshipping these giant cosmic gods called the Great Ones, believing that they were their only hope for salvation. But the Great Ones had their own ends and spread a bloodborne plague to further their own goals. Now that is a completely surface level telling of the story. I know there's so much more there. It's a very deep game, and I'll actually provide a few links down in the description of videos that I've watched where people get really in depth to it in terms of the use of menstrual blood and gross things like that. But I don't want to talk about that because I already wrote about that. That's also down there. At the very basic level, the game is about, again, fallen ideals, in that these people, what they thought would be their salvation, these great ones, actually became their destruction as the gods betrayed them. In each of those 3 facets of Bloodborne, the world, the combat, the narrative, there are always high ideals that you're trying to attain. There was the fallen beauty of the world that you will never reach. the perfection in combat you can never attain, and the salvation that the people of Yharnam were so desperately seeking and will never have. Bloodborne is a very special game because it shows you how the world should be and how the world actually is, and it revels in the discomfort of knowing that those two will never meet. Thank you guys so much for sticking to the end of this. I really actually enjoyed making this. I haven't written anything like this in a while, and I haven't ever talked into a camera like this before, so this is all new experiences for me. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below. If you don't, please give me some constructive criticism. Say constructive, please. Anything beyond my appearance, because I can't change that. I've tried for years. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like and subscribe and all those fun things, and I'll try to be back soon with another one of these.